Okay, back to do the Impact review once again on Sunday because I had to work Saturday. I'm sorry. Not really something I can help. It's just, real life takes precedence sometimes. And wouldn't you know it, a lot of stuff has once again happened since the last time we talked about this. I'm sure you guys are going to be asking me about that. Put your questions and comments. Is that right? Or is it that way? No, it's that way. Sorry, little dyslexic. I get left and right mixed up. I think it's that way that the chat room is. Also, the spoiler warning is in effect. We've been getting a lot of people posting spoilers in the chat room recently, and not everybody likes to be spoiled. So please be courteous and respectful to the people who don't like to be spoiled. I like to keep this a spoiler-free zone as much as possible. So don't post the show results here. If people want to see the show results, they know where to find them. They're all over the place, but some people don't like to be spoiled. They like to be surprised when they see something on TV. So just try to be mindful of that and don't post spoilers in the chat room, okay? So let's get started because I have to go to the store later. So Impact Wrestling from November the 3rd. The show begins with Brandy Rhodes cutting this pretty generic promo about Lashley's attack on Cody the previous week and how he put Cody down, but Cody will be back, so watch out. And this brings out Maria and Sienna. So Sienna's back with Maria, or she never left, I guess. And they transition into the feud that I'm a lot less interested in, to be honest. They go back and forth, and the heels beat Brandy down, and I'm sorry, but I'm just not excited about the prospect of Brandy versus Maria. Especially now that we've heard that Maria plans to retire in the near future, and, this may be one of her last feuds. Really? They're letting Brandy feud with her? Of all the girls that she could help get over? Brandy? Really? First of all, Brandy is throwing the Rhodes name around a lot. Okay, because there's a legacy there, and an importance, and a prestige, and whatever. And yeah, that might mean more if Brandy was actually a Rhodes. But she's not. Her husband is. She's acting like she was born with the Rhodes name, but she wasn't. So this all feels kind of hollow to me. Plus, I didn't think her promo was anything special. It wasn't the worst promo I've ever heard. She didn't screw up her lines or anything. I guess it was decent, but it was also kind of robotic and paint by numbers. And it didn't have a lot of emotion there. It certainly didn't blow me away like Rosemary's promos always do. And quite frankly, I saw nothing from Brandy in this segment, or last week for that matter, to convince me that someone as green as her should be getting a push like this. It really comes off like they're delaying pulling the trigger on the Allie Maria feud so Brandy can feud with Maria instead, which is idiotic because even though Allie didn't appear in this segment, the mere mention of her was more over than Brandy was. So why isn't Allie in this spot right now? Apparently because she's not married to Cody Rhodes. I really want to like Brandy. I do, but it just feels like they're pushing her for all the wrong reasons, and I can't get on board with this right now. It just feels too soon for Brandy. Also, question, why is Sienna still with Maria? It made sense when Maria was still the leader of the Knockouts, but she's not anymore. She has no power now, Billy Corgan said so. So why is Sienna still acting as Maria's muscle? If I'm Sienna, now would be the time that I'd be acting on my anger at Maria for never giving me my title rematch after I lost the Knockouts Championship. But it turns out that's not even a thing? Maria's just going to be... Sienna's just going to continue being Maria's muscle? Why? There's nothing in it for her anymore. I don't know. Okay, after this we have Jesse Goddard versus Aaron Rex for the Grand Championship. Rex is slowly acting more heelish, and it seems to be working for him. He's being more aggressive and getting pissed off when Goddard cuts him off, and so he goes for the eyes, and afterward he condescendingly congratulates him on the hard-fought loss, and Rex got some heel heat with that. So we're headed in the right direction with him, but they're getting there a little slower than I'd like. I was just hoping for a little bit more. Yeah, he's acting subtly heelish. He's still being like the insincere babyface, but why not just go for it? I mean, everyone kind of accepts that he's using the stuff on his hands to cheat now, so I don't really see what they're waiting for. Let's accelerate that a little bit. Being a heel is obviously where his charisma really comes out. So let's step on the gas. Good stuff from Jesse Goddard, though. Not surprisingly, he seems to do his best work when he's not standing next to Robbie E. So how about we keep him far away from that loser, all right, TNA? Just a thought. And then we go to our X Division segment. We get this video package with DJZ, Mandrews, and Braxton Sutter talking about what makes them such a great team in Team X Gold. And I like the X guys getting a chance to talk, however briefly, because that doesn't happen very often. But you know what I would have liked better than this? A video explaining what the fuck the rules of Team X Gold are. Because I still don't know. Seriously, they had this triple threat Team X Gold match where the Decay get ejected from the match, and I had no idea why. I had no idea. I was really confused by this. The ref just sends them to the back for some reason. I don't think they explained it at all. I was asking other people, why are the Decay getting kicked out? Someone on Twitter told me that it was because they were in the ring for too long after tagging out or something, but when the hell did they say that this was against the rules? If they said so, I missed it. If it's against the rules, okay, but you have to actually tell us these things, not just hope that we figure it out on our own. What kind of sense does that make? It's a fun match, but it's way too fucking short as usual, and since I still have no idea what the point of Team X Gold even is, I couldn't be forced to care that much. At least they did something to protect the Decay this time, so this counts as another win for Mandrews, but what's the end goal here? I have no idea. And hang on. Sorry, the door was open. Next segment, we have the broken, obsolete Hardys come out to address the masked businessmen, as Matt calls them. And what follows is the best job the TNA has done so far of making the Death Count Council look like an actual threat to the Hardys. They show up, they beat the Hardys down, Jeff challenges them to a match. I thought this match was already booked, but whatever. So they don't pull the chicken shit card, they come back and they have a match. And the match itself is not anything to write home about, but it gets thrown out pretty quickly. Then they fight backstage, we're in transition into final deletion mode, and that's where it gets a lot more interesting. They're fighting all over the place, and there's cool music and editing, and Matt's trying to delete one of them by smashing his head in a trash can over and over again. Delete! 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 And Jeff gets kicked in the nuts, but Matt heals him with the tub of water from the Lake of Reincarnation, which is just sitting there, apparently. Man, you'd think other people would have been using that too, if it's just there backstage for anyone to use. And they fight on top of... Then Matt and one of these guys fights on top of this big forklift, and Matt falls off. And then the cliffhanger, Matt now has amnesia. So broken Matt has a broken brain. This is why we can't have nice things. This was a lot of fun. I'm hoping their eventual matches will turn out to be better than what we saw in the ring there. Maybe when they get out of the suits, they'll be more mobile. But all the stuff backstage was just more gold from the broken obsolete gimmick. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, now Matt's lost his memory. That's certainly a plot twist I didn't see coming. We haven't done an amnesia storyline in years. I don't think I've seen this since the days of Stephanie and Test. Okay, this just got a lot more interesting. The Death Council looked dangerous finally. They hurt the Hardys here, so now we've got an actual feud. All right, good. Following this, we have yet another awesome promo segment with EC3 and Eli Drake. Can this whole feud just be them cutting promos on each other? Because this is tremendous. It's two of the best talkers in the company, if not the whole business right now, and it's dynamite whenever they're on screen together. I mean, anytime you can get a dickless bastard chant going in the crowd, you're probably doing something right. So EC3 challenges Eli Drake to put his Bound for Gold... Hang on. His Bound for Gold title shot on the line in a match against him. Okay? And what I love about this is that Eli just basically tells him to piss off. Okay, remember years ago when Randy Orton challenged Rey Mysterio to put his WrestleMania title shot on the line in a match for no reason at all, and Rey did it, and he lost it? They made Rey look like the biggest fucking dumbass who ever lived. Nice to see the writers try to avoid that trap here. Eli holds out. First he says, hey, fuck you, I'm not doing that. That would be the act of a stupid person. And I'm not a dummy, yeah. And then, so he waits for EC3 to put something on the line too. Something really big, actually. And then Eli is like, you know what? Maybe I'll just indulge you. Maybe I'll go for this match. So you know what, EC3? Screw you! I'm gonna cash in Bound for Gold next week instead and choke on that asshole. Because in the end, EC3 still got to him. Still got under his skin, still bruised his ego. So EC3 gets Eli to cash in Bound for Gold sooner than he was planning to, but EC3 still doesn't get what he wants. This was awesome. It's great. More of this, please. Now, I'm not happy that Eli Drake's title shot looks like it'll just be used as something to push a feud that has nothing to do with that title shot. When he cashed that thing in, I wanted it to be a big deal. I wanted it to be about him going for the title because he wanted to, not because he was just goaded into it. So that's a sticking point. But, hey, if it means we get more of this feud as a result, if it means this feud gets taken up a notch, how is that a bad thing? And then, just like that, we already come to the main event. Because they set aside a lot of time for this. Lashley getting his rematch for the world title against Eddie Edwards. Now, throughout the night, they're showing all these video packages chronicling Eddie's journey to the title and all the trials and struggles that he's been through to get to this point and all that stuff. You're really trying to make this look like a big moment and a big match. Hashtag super fight and all that. The problem is there's a big part of me that just doesn't feel like it's a super fight. Just doesn't feel like it's a big match. Eddie and Lashley have had several matches now, and I still feel like Eddie Edwards in this spot is just an awkward fit. As much as I like the guy, I just don't see him as the guy, I wasn't against him getting a short title reign, but now it looks like they're serious about rolling with this for a while, which I'm just not sure I'm on board with. Now, credit where it's due, they had a great fucking match. The story was good here with Lashley getting frustrated that Eddie won't stay down, which is what leads to the ref bumps, which leads to Lashley losing his cool and Eddie capitalizing. So it doesn't come off like unrealistically. It makes sense the way it happens. But that's 2 wins in a row that Eddie has gotten over the unstoppable juggernaut of force now. And I don't begrudge Eddie anything, but it looks like they're getting really serious about turning him into a top guy, and I just don't see it. Fantastic wrestler, but he's never really had the gravitas, the charisma that a top guy needs, and that's not really something you can learn necessarily. So I'm really conflicted about this. I guess for now we just have to wait and see how the fans accept Eddie in this spot. If they don't turn on him, maybe this can work. But it looks like he's facing Eli Drake next week, and if Eddie beats Eli Drake, that's not going to endear him to me. Yeah. I'd say this was another middle-of-the-road show, leaning more towards up and down. So, like, thumbs in the middle, maybe like this. slanting upward. Most of the wrestling was good to great, and though the Hardys DCC match was nothing special, the stuff they did backstage was really entertaining. And the EC3 Eli Drake stuff continues to be awesome. But creatively, it felt like there were a few missteps here. I don't like Brandy getting the spot that Allie should be in just because of who her husband is. The writers are still ignoring a lot of things the X Division needs. And the best I can say about the Eddie Edwards situation right now is that, for me, the jury's still out. Alright, let's hear from you guys in the chat room. Remember, no spoilers. Let's see. What's your thoughts about Billy being out of TNA? Well, I kind of covered this last time. He's not out completely. I guess he's no longer the president, but he's still owed a lot of money. And I guess he still has the option of converting that into 36% ownership. So Billy's not going away. At least not until that situation's been resolved. But at least, like, for now, he is no longer the president of the company. And he's out of power in that sense, which sucks. Which really sucks. Because he'd proven himself to be a boon in a creative aspect and a production aspect. I mean, he showed he had a lot of great ideas. And he showed that he had a vision for the company and what he wanted it to be and what he wanted just pro wrestling to become in the future. And that's something that Dixie Carter has proven that she just does not have. So I think it's a big blow. It's a terrible decision to not want Billy to be in charge, and I'm not happy about it. What's your thoughts on the Doctor Strange movie? Okay. Well, I saw Doctor Strange on Friday. Why don't we save my thoughts on that for this Thursday when everyone's had a chance to see the movie? Because some people may not have seen it yet, and I have thoughts about it, but I might get into spoiler territory there. I don't want to ruin it for everybody. So, long story short, I liked it a lot. Go see it. But if you want more detailed thoughts about that, we can talk about that on the Comic Show post show on Thursday. Okay. Have you seen the show Mr. Robot? Yeah, I haven't. I've heard great things about it, and I intend to check it out at some point. But for now, I just haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. Wasn't Broken Matt Hardy, Decay, Grand Championship, and Team X Gold Billy Corgan ideas? Now I think Broken Matt Hardy was kind of Matt Hardy's baby. Billy has pretty much gone on record saying that a lot of this is just Matt. Like, a lot of that is just the Hardys doing their thing, and maybe he had input and some influence there, but I think that's mainly the Hardys. Decay I think was already in the works before Billy got his hands on it. I believe he's been producing their segments, and again he may have had input, but I think that was already in the works. The Grand Championship, that was probably a Billy Corgan idea. But again, I can't really be sure about that. Team X Gold, I have no idea. I really don't know what Team X Gold is and who has been responsible for that. I don't even know what the point of it is yet. Now that he left, do you think TNA will keep them? I think if they're working in any capacity, TNA would be stupid not to keep them. They'd be insane to nix the broken match gimmick. It's the most buzzed about thing in wrestling right now. Why would they get rid of it? Even if it was a Billy Corgan idea, it works. It's been proven to work. So if they got rid of it, I would ask them the question of, do you want to stay in business because you're acting like you don't? Because why would you get rid of an idea that works? Same thing with the Decay. They're a great act. One of the best acts in the company right now. Why would you Why would you want to get rid of them or shoot them in the foot just to spite Billy Corgan? If it works, use it. You know. So if they were to get rid of those things, at least those two things in particular, it would show that the whoever's in charge now obviously just has an agenda and cares more about their agenda than doing good business. So we'll see what happens. I'm not saying I'm not worried that those things might happen. I'm saying that Anthem and Dixie and whoever the hell's in charge now would be insane to do so. The knockout division has become boring. Well, I'm not going to disagree. I don't find the Maria Brandy feud all that interesting. It's just wrong feud, wrong time. Uh, yeah, so it does feel like it lacks direction at the moment. Gail Kim wins the Knockouts title at Bound for Glory, and then she wins the rematch, and then we don't see her for weeks. And I'm fine with that because the other girls actually get showcased when Gail's not there. But if she was gonna just not gonna appear for weeks on end, why the hell did you put the belt on her? The other girls could be fighting over the Knockouts title right now. We could have a Knockouts title feud, but we don't because Gail's not there. Now that may have something to do with her injury, which has been reported. She has a back injury, so maybe they just had to scramble and go in a different direction. And okay, but really, Maria versus Brandy is the best you can do. Okay, yeah, I'm the guy who always been the proponent of striking while the iron's hot, but I just don't think Brandy is ready for such a big spot. Okay, if you want to keep her on the show and showcase her in some capacity, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead, but getting a push this big when I just don't think she's ready for it 100%. That's not going to do any. That's not going to help anybody. You know. Also, I do think also the time really has come. I think they're this close to really needing to pull the trigger on the alley thing, and I think some people are kind of impatient for that to happen. So when it happens, and I think it will happen, soon enough, I think things will get a lot more interesting, and we'll have a direction mapped out. But we need a few things to happen, and we need like the knockouts title situation to be ironed out first. Yeah, the Maria Brandy feud has already been done with Gail and Maria. Well, there are some similarities there, yeah. What's your favorite MCU film? What's your take on the future Phase 3 films that you're most excited for? Favorite MCU film? Probably Civil War and Winter Soldier. I think those have been the best ones. But I've liked all of them in some capacity. I guess the Thor movies are the ones I have the most indifference towards. Not that I dislike them; I've liked them all. Um, but yeah, I mean, if there's a scale, there those the Thor movies are probably near the bottom. But yeah, I've liked them all. I think Civil War and I think Civil War is the best, followed closely by Winter Soldier. Maybe for my money, the Captain America movies just get better and better. Uh, but yeah, I've liked them all really. What are you most excited for? Oh, Captain Marvel, 100%. Also, the new Spider-Man. Uh, Thoughts on Lagana leaving TNA? Yeah. Okay, so Dave Lagana quit. My guess is in protest over the Billy Corgan situation. Uh, it's hard to comment because we don't really know how they're going to replace him. But for the time being, this probably means that John Gaburek gets more creative power, which is a very bad thing because I think he's completely ill-suited to be in charge of creative. So he's probably back in that spot now, which sucks. I think it means another creative upheaval because whoever they replace him with, because I assume they'll be hiring a new writer to fill the void. Whoever they replace him with is going to have different ideas of who should get pushed and who should not get pushed. He's going to have different favorites, different people that he likes. So we're probably going to see a different. They can see a change up on the show with different feuds taking prevalence. Um, also, it probably doesn't mean good things for anybody hoping that they were saving Rosemary versus Allie for a big show and just building it up and saving it for when they could really pull the trigger on it and push it as a huge feud. Because Dave Lagana knows what a big feud that is on the Indies, and he's a fan of it. So there's no doubt in my mind that he was saving that for a big moment to do that feud. Now, whoever replaces him may not feel that way, which is what I'm worried about. So I'm not against the idea of a creative shakeup, but apparently Lagana was like their main writer. So it's just a lot of uncertainty right now, and I don't like that. I'd feel better if we at least knew what they were doing to fill the void. But right now we just don't. I'm glad Gail hasn't been on TV, but no Gail, no Jade, Rosemary, or Allie this week was dumb. Yeah. I have a couple theories. I wonder if they kept Rosemary off TV so she wouldn't be with the Decay when they lost last week or got ejected from the match this week. Perhaps that's to protect her because it doesn't count as a loss for her if she's not there. Maybe that was their way of protecting Rosemary. I hope that was the intention. Um, with Allie, maybe they didn't bring Allie out with Maria and Sienna because they were afraid that she'd kind of just all the Allie fans in the crowd would just kind of take over and they wouldn't support Brandy because they'd be too busy chanting for Allie. We almost saw that here. Maria mentioned Allie, and immediately you get the Allie chants, and nobody cares about Brandy anymore. So there's every possibility that if they brought Allie out there, that she'd be the only things the fans would care about. When the point of this feud is, I guess, to rally the fans behind Brandy Rose. So I'm guessing that's why they didn't bring Allie out. As for Jade, no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. I guess they just don't have a spot for her right now. Now, if Gail is injured, which has been reported, that's not a spoiler. The Knockouts title situation may be in flux, so there may be some new people going for that. So maybe they'll have Jade in there. Again, no spoilers, guys, because not everybody likes to be spoiled. So maybe we'll see Jade back. I think it's stupid that they've kept her off TV and haven't had anything for her really for a while now. It's dumb. If they see her as the heir apparent to Gail, then fucking treat her like she is, Damn it, I lost my place again. Out of the Wolves, should Davey have been world champion first if he didn't get injured before Eddie? Not necessarily, because if Davey hadn't got injured, I think the Wolves would probably still be working as a tag team, because they need tag teams. I'm not saying he shouldn't have gotten a shot at the world title before Eddie, but the opportunity wasn't there. Eddie got a singles push because Davey was injured, so he couldn't be a tag team at that time. If which I'm sure would have happened to Davey had Eddie gotten injured, but that's not what happened. If both of them are there, they would have. I'm sure they would have been utilized as a tag team because the company needs tag teams right now. In the Logan trailer, Logan was fighting somebody with 3 blades. Could that be his son, Ken? Possibly. Haven't heard anything about Ken being in the movie. Maybe it's just maybe it's X-23 because we know that's who the girl is now. Um, they said that. Maybe they just gave her three claws instead of 2. We really don't know. X Division should go back to singles matches instead of the team stuff. It's getting tired. I don't disagree. I think it just feels that way because they haven't really explained the Team X Gold thing yet or what the point of it is. On the other hand, I do enjoy them the X Division actually being on TV on a weekly basis. So if nothing else, Team X Gold is accomplishing that much, getting it just a little bit more screen time than it usually gets. But they do need to explain it. Just explain it, or just yeah. Why not let Mandrews or Andrew Everett win the X Division title? At least that would be something new. Well, neither of them have really been built up for that yet. You can't just do it randomly. You have to prepare. You have to groom somebody for a championship before you give it to them. Right now, Mandrews is winning matches as part of this Team X Gold triumvirate, so that's a step in the right direction for him, at least. Maybe Matt Hardy takes over the creative room for a while, possibly. And we know he's in there, so he's got creative influence. Do they really think Brandy will get over as much as Allie, or is it just because she's with Cody? I think it's just because she's with Cody. I think they hope she can get over as much as Allie. Will she? Possibly, but I doubt it in the short term, at least. Yeah, I think they're pushing her because she's married to Cody, and they want to keep Cody happy. That's why they're doing it. Do you think Davey Richards is retiring? Well, he said he's going to. I know he stated before, but it didn't go through with it in ROH. Yeah, well, circumstances are different now. Now he's married with a baby. Now he's going to medical school. So it's possible he just wants to move on to whatever's next. And before that may not have been the case, but now he's got more incentive to do so. Let's see. Glad Eddie retained. They don't need a hot potato heavyweight title. Yeah, they've got enough hot potato titles already. Who got injured in the knockout division? Gail Kim did. She's got some kind of back injury. Not sure where that came from or when it happened, but that's probably why we haven't seen her in the last couple weeks. Thoughts on Billy Corgan and Anthem, Fight Network, Twitter beefing at each other? I haven't really been following it. Haven't been on Twitter that much recently. But there's some kind of Twitter war going on there. Billy is maintaining that he has not been paid the money that he's owed, even though the due date for paying him has passed. And Anthem and or Fight Network seem kind of annoyed. They keep saying that he has no case or something like that, and he will be paid imminently. But I think the problem is that he should have been paid already, and he hasn't. So I think there's just hard feelings on both sides, and it's probably going to continue, at least in the short term. Basically, the only women who can have wins against Maria are Gail and Brandy. Great, yeah. One woman who doesn't need it, and one woman who's not ready for it. I'm hoping that at least they'll give Allie a win over Maria at the end of this feud. I don't see why they wouldn't, because Maria... I don't think Maria has a problem with putting people over. And if anyone would benefit from that hugely and be in a position to capitalize on that, it would be Allie. So I'd like to see. I'm crossing my fingers that Allie gets a win over Maria. I'd also like to see Sienna get a win over Maria because Sienna's got to turn on Maria at some point. I'm not sure why she hasn't done it already because Maria can't do anything for Sienna anymore. She's got no power. So why is Sienna sticking around with her? It doesn't make sense. EC3 is great, but Eli Drake calling him Mid Carter the Third was funny. Hella funny. Yeah, yeah, it was. It was. So many great lines in this feud already. I just want the whole feud to be them cutting promos on each other. Okay. Maria's character is starting to get annoying. She just seems to do the same things over and over and over. Well, probably because she was stuck in the same feud for too long. The feud with Gail went several months too long, in my opinion, and they didn't really have the material to stretch it out for that long. So, not surprisingly, they ended up repeating themselves. And now there's this thing with Brandy, which has a lot of the same elements that feud had. So I'm not surprised that she's just repeating herself because there's not really a lot of variety here right now. Billy Corgan said on Twitter that he's threatening to sell his stock to a pro wrestling titan. Yeah, I don't really believe that. Could he have been telling the truth about that? Yeah, babe, maybe. I don't buy it. Billy's MO has always been that he wanted to own the company. I think he's definitely a guy that knows what the pro wrestling business needs, and WWE having a monopoly again is just no. That wouldn't be good for anybody. Plus, I don't think even WWE would even be interested. They don't want to own 36% of the company. They'd want to own the whole company, but not 36%. They wouldn't be interested in that. So I think he's just screwing with them, really. Jane Cena should take her precious recovering from that injury and vacate the title. Since Gail has been champion, she has really put over the new talent, said nobody. Yeah. Again, no spoilers. Okay. Thoughts on the new Wonder Woman trailer? It's my favorite Wonder Woman thing that I've seen so far. I'm excited for the movie. Let's see. Who from ROH would you want in TNA? Yeah, I really haven't been watching ROH. Not familiar with the roster right now. Raven Effect is always going on and on about Matt Taven, so I guess Matt Taven would be there. I would be one of those people. But again, I'm really just not terribly familiar with the current roster. I would have said Crazy Mary Dobson, but she's signed with WWE now, so which sucks. I was really hoping TNA would get her. And notice that we haven't gotten any good matches in the knockout division in months, and this is a division with Rosemary, Allie, Jade, Sienna, and Gail. Yeah, well, they haven't been emphasizing the great matches for the knockouts. Because Gail was feuding with someone she really couldn't have a great match with, and now that person is feuding with another person she probably can't have a great match with, and that's the prominent feud at the moment. They've just been emphasizing story over matches right now. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to go. But if you're looking for great matches from the knockouts, the current approach is not really designed to deliver that. I think, again, once they get the title situation straightened out and they figure out a direction for where to go with Gail being on the sidelines for a while, I think then you'll start to see some better matches there. But they got to emphasize somebody other than Gail and Maria and Brandy. If they figure out something for Sienna to do and Jade and Rosemary, and maybe have Allie wrestling more, I think you'll start to see better matches. We just got to get there first. They aren't really building up anybody with these annoying team matches they have in the X Division. I disagree slightly. I think having Mandrews on the winning end of these team matches is doing something for him. He's not just the guy who loses all the time. Now he's the guy who's on a winning team. So I think that's doing something for Mandrews. Here's an idea. Let Rosemary and Jade fucking wrestle. No comment. Just wait. Just wait. It'll happen. See, they need to have there needs to be a story between them to interest fans. They don't need a storyline to be on TV and have a match. They haven't done anything since Bound for Glory. No, I think they do need to have a storyline to be on TV. Because if they don't have a storyline, then they're just doing. A storyline is what makes people care about them being there. I would like them to be on TV, but I want them to be on TV with a purpose. That's what you need storylines for. That's why I can't get into ROH. That's why every time I try to get into ROH, I just end up getting bored. Because it's just matches with no purpose. There's no reason. It's like, I always wonder, well, why is this guy fighting the other guy? I don't know. There's just random matches. For me, I need a storyline to care. I like good wrestling, but I like good wrestling enhanced by a good storyline and good characters more. So if you're going to have somebody on TV, they need a reason to be on TV. Otherwise, it's really hard to give a shit. Let's see. Maria's a good heel, but it's just getting boring since she can't wrestle and isn't tough. Running your mouth can only do so much. I see where you're coming from, but I think TNA is doing great with Maria, utilizing her to her strengths. She's not a good wrestler, but she is a good promo and a good character. And she's been using that, and maybe it does get... I can see why people would get impatient with her getting featured so much. But there has been a point to it. If nothing else, she has helped get Allie incredibly over by just with promo and character stuff. And if you want to see more wrestling, okay. But when Allie does start wrestling more, she's going to have the crowd completely behind her, and that's in large part thanks to Maria. So I understand the impatience, but there's been a purpose for it. I'd like to see them see Maria. Turn this talent that she has to helping get other people over, because I think it's been kind of a waste to see her feuding with Gail as long as she had, and now doing it with Brandy. I think Brandy's not in a position to capitalize on it yet, so I'd like to see her finish this thing with Allie, and then maybe help get Sienna over, and then maybe somebody else, like Jade or somebody like that. Doctor Strange already made $325.3 million worldwide. Oh yeah, it's a good movie. Anything else I can't not answer? Get used to bad business of Dixie and Anthem. They're going to be the reason that TNA went out of business. Well, if TNA do go out of business in the future, it'll probably be because of Dixie. Because, without massive changes to the organizational structure and the people in charge, I have little confidence that they won't wind up right back in the same spot, before too long. Because Dixie Carter, she's shown that she can keep the wheels on the bus by hook or by crook, but in terms of growing the business, or at least keeping the business from shrinking, she can't do it. She's proven that she doesn't know what she's doing, and okay, maybe that's just not what she excels at. Um, but that's why you hire people and put them in place to do that, you know. But it does. It just seems like she wants to do everything herself. She wants to be the person at the head, even if she's not qualified. And I don't know why Anthem want her to stay in charge. I think that's idiotic. But that's the way they feel. And I have very little faith in them uh, getting it to work out. But at least for the time being, they have money. They have some kind of financial footing now with Anthem there. Uh, and we'll see how long that lasts. I don't think it'll work out, but at least in the short, it's a short-term fix. It's not a long-term fix, though. That's the problem. Okay. The current ROH roster, who would you want to pick up out of this lineup? Dalton Castle, Mandy Leon, Leo Rush, Silas Young, Adam Cole, the Briscoes. I take Dalton Castle and Adam Cole. Not familiar with Leo Rush or Silas Young. Briscoes, I'm just tired of them. Mandy Leon, I think, is overrated. Personally, she comes off as very green to me. I'm not enamored with her promos at all. Maybe there's some potential there, but I think it's just largely unrealized, and I'd like her to have a lot more seasoning and experience before TNA were to go after her. Maybe in the future for Mandy Leon, but not right now. Alright, story and matches are fine, but when the story drags, all you have is the match quality, and if it's not good, then what? Well, the problem is the story is what makes the match mean something. And if you don't have the story, then the match quality is largely insignificant. It's a good... without a good story, then a match is just a bunch of moves. Like I said, I like good wrestling as much as anyone, but I need a story to invest myself emotionally. Alright? And that is going to be it. One more. Who would you rather go over in the Goldberg-Brock Lesnar match, if you care enough, that is? Brock Lesnar. Seems like it's an easy decision. Brock's the one who's going to be sticking around afterward. Goldberg's just there for one match. Plus, Goldberg won the last one. So, I think it just makes sense for Brock to go over. I don't really care about the match. All right, last one. Do you think with Hugh Jackman retiring, Wolverine and Patrick Stewart may leave as well, could they do the Battle of the Atom with the newer cast going into the future? I guess going into the future? No, I don't think there's any reason to do that. I'd prefer they just do Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix, because it seems like they were setting that up in Apocalypse. The cast going into the future? No. They already did a time travel story, and this continuity has gotten convoluted enough. I just say no. Just try to keep it simple. Just stick with the current cast. Do Dark Phoenix, and then maybe after that, just think about maybe rebooting the universe and starting fresh. And that is going to do it for this week. Thanks everybody for joining me. Sorry I had to push it to Sunday again. Sometimes real life just takes precedence. I gotta go. I gotta do a couple things. I gotta go to the store, get some food for tonight, because I got nothing to eat for dinner. So I will see you on Thursday for the Comic Show post-show. Next Impact stream should be on Saturday. If it's not, I will post a notice on Twitter. So follow me for updates on Twitter. And check out the most recent episode of the Heelcast, because I was on there again. I think it's on tnasylum.net. It's on the main page. So I was a guest on there again. So check that out. Give those guys some more views because they're good guys. They put on a good show. They deserve more views. Subscribe to the TNA Heelcast. Just do a search TNA Heelcast and it pops right up. Subscribe to those guys, and I will see you on Thursday. All right. Good talking to you guys. Thanks for joining me. Peace out.